Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is George.
And I'm Susan, and we're from Your Rewirement for Success, and we want to welcome you to today's webinar. We've got some really exciting information to share with you. In fact, we have proven strategies for building the kind of lifestyle, career, and future that you've been wanting. If life is feeling a bit stagnant for you right now, like you're just going through the motions every day and nothing really changes, we want to take you through a method that will help you start dreaming again and give you the proven process for getting from where you are now to where you want to be. These proven strategies we'll be sharing are already being used by top achievers from around the world, people who've succeeded in business, sports, entertainment, science, and more. They've got the freedom of making their own schedules to focus on the things that they want to do and what they are passionate about. So today, we want to share with you a 4-step formula. And we hope that you had a chance to download the workbook. If you didn't, it's not a big deal, and you can download it afterwards, but we will be referring to it during the course of our presentation today. But there are some worksheets in there that you can do on your own time for each of the 4 steps. So let's get started. Let's get started. I don't know why it's not moving forward. Okay, there we go.
The first step to creating a different future is actually an equation that changes everything. E plus R equals O, which stands for the event plus your response determines your outcome. Now, before learning this equation, we reacted to life's events as they came up. If we got a flat tire, we reacted with frustration. And if our bank account was in trouble, we were miserable. And if we were in bumper-to-bumper traffic going to work, well, we just blamed the traffic. Mm-hmm. And that was until we learned this equation for responding, not reacting to life's events when they came up. So here's the reality. Events just happen. You can't control events because they materialize as a result of specific situations, other people's emotions, timing, the economy, the weather, and a million other details that are outside of your control. Events just happen. When faced with challenging events, people often feel harassed and stressed, and they'll do anything to make that situation go away. That's reactionary, and unfortunately, it often produces an outcome that they don't want. So what's the first inclination? To blame the event for their bad outcome. Unfortunately, blaming an event for producing a negative in your life puts all of the power outside of your control. There's nothing you can do about external events. They happen. That's reality. You need to respond in a way that will bring about the outcome that you want. Now, here's an example. A few months ago, I was sitting on my living room couch, and there's a knock at the front door. And the young man stood there and said, "I just hit the truck that's parked in front of your house." Well, the first words out of my mouth was, "Crap." The look on the young man's face kicked in E plus R equals O, I have to say. And I said, "I'm sorry," and I invited him in. And while I was apologizing to him for his outburst, we shook hands as we introduced ourselves, and I said, "Sorry, Bob, I'm just concerned about my beautiful truck. You caught me completely by surprise. I was not trying to blame you." E plus R equals O allowed me to change my reaction to a response, and we were then able to have a conversation leading to an outcome we both wanted. The first step in this life-changing formula we've been talking about is to take responsibility for how you respond to events, mishaps, catastrophes, and especially for how you respond to opportunities that come up. This does not mean you have to take responsibility for the event itself. This is usually out of your hands, but how you respond is 100% within your control. And it's the leverage point where you can change what you get out of life. So taking more responsibility for how you respond is the first and most important step toward creating more success in your life. You can be thoughtful and deliberate, or you can be frustrated, reactive, and emotional. It's your choice. And what's so great about this concept is it puts control back in your hands. This is especially important when opportunities come up. Opportunities for you to get ahead, achieve what you want. Some people react emotionally when an actual opportunity presents itself. They complain that the timing's not right, or they're not ready, or it will require a lot of work to respond to that opportunity, or they just don't have the money right now. you'd be surprised at the complaints you hear from some people when an opportunity arises. Let's say your boss asks you to attend a 4-day conference out of town next weekend on your days off. Immediately you think of the plans you have for next weekend. You feel like complaining about the short notice, but when you take a step back, you think about it, and you realize that this opportunity could help you grow in the company. You change your weekend plans so that you can go.
And here's the second point about E plus R equals O. You have to give up blaming and complaining about the event and focus on how you'll respond appropriately and positively. Getting back to negative events, what do most people do? They tend to complain to the wrong person. If I'm upset with my boss because she's given me extra work to finish by tomorrow morning, I complain to George about it here, but he can't do anything about it. If I'm upset with George about something that he did and I complain to my sister about it, well, that doesn't really help either. It does, because we're complaining to the wrong people. It's wasted time and energy. I decided to talk to my boss about assigning work at the last minute and how it affects my work-life balance. I talked to my spouse about what he did, and then we can make plans for things not to happen again. If I speak to the right person, then we can work towards a positive outcome. At least communicating my request is the first step. Even though they may not agree, they now know that I would like to try something different. This is a good communication skill for all of us to learn. What about natural disasters and other events that don't involve individual people? I can respond differently to those events too. I can plan to leave an extra 20 minutes early for work when snowfall is predicted, because if you know Calgary, it can be pretty bad and the traffic can be horrendous on a snow day. So I'm going to leave 20 minutes earlier for work so I can be there on time. I can upgrade my skills so that I'm still valuable to the new management team after my company gets bought out. I can have the right kinds of healthy foods in my refrigerator to maintain my healthy lifestyle. Instead of spending most of our time blaming things outside of our control, the weather, our boss, the traffic, the economy, or the government, we can take action in advance and be prepared. Whatever the world throws at us, we have to stop blaming. So taking more responsibility for our responses is the first and most important step towards creating a successful life.
We want to direct your attention to 2 exercises in the free workbook that was included with today's class. If you don't have your workbook yet, you can download it by clicking on the link when this webinar is over. You won't need your workbook to do any of the exercises right now. In order to get the most benefit from this class, please do the exercises sometime this week. The first exercise is called a difficult or troubling situation analysis. Just like an unexpected event, we all experience ongoing, troubling situations from time to time. It's just a part of life, and no matter how well you prepare to avoid these hardships, they are going to simply happen. And if not addressed, they can trouble you for years. And it's far easier to resolve a situation when they arise than letting them build up over time. So what kind of situations am I talking about? A teenager or sibling who's not speaking to you. A financial difficulty that's getting worse every day. A health condition that's annoying, nagging, or uncomfortable. A tense atmosphere at the office. That sneaking suspicion that your spouse is being unfaithful. The key here is to respond to the event, whether it's sudden or long-standing, with a commitment to resolving it so you can move on to creating better outcomes in your future. The difficult or troubling situation analysis will help you get past the current situation so you can focus on your success again. The experience has full instructions in the workbook that asks you to analyze the payoffs or benefits you get from keeping the situation just like it is. The negative costs of keeping it the way it is, your part in creating it or allowing it, and actions you could take or requests that you could make to get what you want instead. So take action. It may seem easier and more convenient and less uncomfortable to ignore the situation than to respond to the difficult or troubling situation, but don't allow the negative outcomes to hold you back from success.
Another important part of taking responsibility is something I like to call yellow alerts. Yellow alerts are those little events, comments, or recurring situations that you notice that act as clues that something's happening or is about to happen. This is not going to work out in your, that's not, or something that's about to happen that's not going to work out in your favor. Here's an example. I hire Sarah to be my personal assistant, and for 2 months, and 2 months later, she says to me, I'm thinking about marrying this wonderful guy who lives in the Bahamas. I ignore that. A month after that, Sarah says she's really falling more in love with this guy, and she hates the rainy weather in Seattle here. And a few weeks later, she's buying bridal magazines and looking for real estate in Nassau. Then all of a sudden, Sarah quits, and I'm surprised and unprepared because I wasn't paying attention to the yellow alerts that Sarah was giving me all along. That she didn't like the weather anymore, buying bridal magazines, looking at real estate. There's lots of yellow alerts in your life, like your teenager who comes home late, night after night with a rank smell on their clothes, or the senior executives from head office who've been repeatedly visiting your department with no explanation. Your biggest client has been giving projects that would be ideal for you to other consultants. And you wonder, well, what's going on here? But you don't want to say anything because that would be too uncomfortable. Unfortunately, because mature conversations, inquiries, and taking action can be inconvenient or uncomfortable, we tend to deny the yellow alerts rather than act upon them in time. The truth is, we're almost always given clues that things are coming, and it's important to pay attention to those clues.
The second exercise in your workbook is called What Are You Pretending Not to Know? And if you're experiencing negative outcomes in your life, perhaps you're ignoring the facts or excusing your part in creating a problem. To help you identify areas to take corrective action or to take action to prevent eventual disaster, the exercise asks you to determine each area of your life for yellow alerts and determine if there's a problem that you are ignoring or creating. You might be ignoring something to do with your health, money, your family, or your lifestyle or career. Whatever it is, this exercise will help you respond to the yellow alerts before something disastrous occurs.
Now, the next step in this proven success formula is to decide what you want. One of the interesting things that you'll experience as you incorporate this formula into your daily life are those unexpected phone calls, the financial windfall, the uncanny new acquaintance that brings you exactly what you want or need in order to achieve your goals, almost as if it were planned. Perhaps it's the universe rewarding you for your take action attitude by harnessing all the forces at its disposal. Perhaps you've worked hard and have grown yourself to the point where you're finally ready to receive a benefit which has been waiting in the wings all along. Researchers now believe that it may simply be a matter of your subconscious mind focusing on and recognizing opportunity when it arrives. The reality is that what you want wants you. Your goals, desires, and needs are patiently waiting to gravitate towards you once you decide what you truly want. The main reason that people don't get what they want is that they haven't decided what they want, what that want is. They haven't defined their goals. Or maybe they've been really broad goals, but they haven't exactly defined their goals in clear and compelling detail. How else can your mind know where to begin looking, seeing, and hearing if you don't give it specific and detailed goals to achieve? Like the GPS in your car or on your phone, when you type in an address, it knows where to go and it'll take you there. The other thing that's important to remember too is that you want to live your dreams, those things that are important to you, achieve those goals that are important to you, not something you believe should be important, or those things that the world expects you to have, or something your mother or your father wants you to focus on, but what's really, truly important to you in the deepest part of your heart. Don't live somebody else's dream. Unfortunately, the sad reality for many people is that they simply aren't honest with themselves. if they were, they would realize that their shoulds are almost always less interesting and more hassle than they truly want. And here are some examples. Many people who have become social media influencers or industry experts were working dull jobs and following careers that other people thought was fantastic, but their lives didn't really become thrilling and fulfilling and meaningful or even lucrative until they started doing what they wanted, what their passion was, doing a decorating blog or starting a small consulting business or started writing cookbooks. Once they were living the life they truly wanted, all the necessary opportunities showed up, including the money.
One of the easiest ways to begin deciding what you truly want is to ask a friend to help you make a list. Have the friend continually ask this one question: what do you want? What do you want? For 10 to 15 minutes while jotting down your answers. You'll find the first wants you run through aren't all that profound. In fact, most people usually hear themselves saying, I want a Mercedes, or I want a big house on the ocean. But by the end of the 10 to 15 minute exercise, the real you will begin to speak. Things like, I want people to respect me in my field. I want to make a difference. I want to meet a life partner. I want true expressions of your heartfelt desires. So that's a quick exercise you can do with a friend. Then trade places and help them make their own list of wants too. To create a more definitive list later, I want you to turn in to the page in your workbook and find the exercise called the vision exercise. And it'll help you decide what you want in the 7 major areas of your life.
The vision exercise is something that you do privately, just you, all by yourself. Start by putting on some nice relaxing music and sitting quietly in a comfortable environment where you won't be disturbed. Then close your eyes and ask your subconscious mind to give you images of what your ideal life would look like if you were living it exactly as you want. You want to visualize your life in 7 key areas. Number 1, your career and professional life. 2, your finances. 3, your recreation and free time. 4, your body and physical health. Number 5, your relationships. And number 6, your personal growth. And number 7, how you work in the community. And as you go through this exercise, you'll be defining what it is that you want to be, do, and have in each of these 7 areas. There are ideas, prompts, and memory joggers in each section to help you think through your ideal life. Your subconscious mind knows what you want and should be the ultimate source of ideas for you. Even if you don't know what that is right now, we're going to help you kind of get an experience of what that's like. So let's do this little exercise right now. So I'd like you to close your eyes and to begin breathing nice and deeply, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your nose. And take another breath, inhaling in through your nose and exhaling through your nose. And one more. Now, imagine that you're in your ideal home environment. Where is it located? What's the view outside the windows? What are the colors of the main living areas? What kind of furniture do you have there? What kind of decor or works of art do you have in your home? Is there music playing in the background? How do you feel as you stroll through the rooms of your ideal home? Now, come back slowly and open your eyes. What you just did was an example of the vision exercise you'll be doing later in the workbook. It takes time. Don't rush it. If you don't immediately see images in the different areas of your life, that's perfectly okay. It still works just as well if you're just thinking of the ideas versus actually seeing yourself in those environments. Let your mind wander a bit, dream a little, And when the ideas come to you, write them down in the workbook. Many people set aside an evening to do the rest of this exercise. So tonight, after this webinar, is a great time to get started. It's an important one because you will use these visions to ultimately form a goal list of the things you want to work on.
Okay, so here's some really good news. Those wants that you will be identifying later in your workbook are achievable. In fact, for mostly everything we want, someone has already done it, created it, owned it, or achieved it. So there's not much of what we want anymore that is so big that it can't be accomplished. The key to getting what you want is step 3 in the formula to set goals around the things that you want to be, do, or have. So how do we set a goal? By writing it in such a way that is specific and measurable, that is someone other than you can know for certain that you achieved it and that goal or not. And let me give an example. I said I want to own a house on a beach someday. That's a nice dream or desire. But to make it a specific and measurable goal, you need more information. You need to state it in a way that clearly predicts that you will have that beach house one day. It's like this. I want to own a 4,000 square foot house on the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, California by the midnight, April the 30th, 2025. Do you hear the difference? The second version of your goal tells your brain exactly what you want to achieve, not a vague, dreamy hope. And if you want to retire early with millions of dollars invested, for example, state the exact amount you'll have invested on the exact date that you plan to retire. As part of the vision exercise in your workbook, you'll be turning all of your wants that you wrote down into specific and measurable goals that you can begin working on and achieving. That leads us to exercise number 4. And here's an idea. Why not create minimum goals, target goals, and outrageous goals? Whatever you write down, your specific and measurable goals, set down 3 different levels that you will achieve. Let's say you want to build a large savings account, get out of debt. A minimum goal might be putting together just a $1,000 emergency fund over the next 30 days. A target goal might be to save up to 3 to 6 months of living expenses in the next 8 months. And an outrageous goal might be to pay off your consumer debt entirely and even your mortgage in the next 7 years. That outrageous goal is always something that would just blow your mind if you achieved it. Your target goal is usually something within your capabilities, and your minimum goal is something you're almost guaranteed to reach, but it gets you going and taking action. Whereas if you just use the outrageous goal, you might seem too overwhelmed and not even start. So what happens with this minimum, target, and optimum formula is that most people will start with the minimum. And then they get motivated and they end up reaching their target goal very easily. Have you ever said, for example, I'm just going to get rid of those old dishes that are stored in the garage? And the next thing you know, you've cleaned the entire garage and even called the local charity to haul away a truckload of cast-offs. It's just a matter of getting started.
And while goal setting is an important step to achieving the wants on your dream list, most of the goals that we focus on are on improving our life in this moment. Things like getting the house painted, finishing my sales report, cleaning out the laundry room, releasing 20 pounds. Instead, what if you focused on a single goal that would up-level everything you do, from your career network, your income, to your lifestyle? Wouldn't that be a goal worth pursuing with passion? Wouldn't that be something to focus on a little each day until you achieved it?
Absolutely.
Think about it. If you were an independent sales professional and you knew you could get a substantial bonus commission or maybe even a promotion once you reached a certain number of customers, wouldn't you work day and night to achieve that goal?
You bet.
If you were a stay-at-home mom whose entire lifestyle and finances would be changed by earning an extra $3,000 a month, wouldn't you pursue every possible opportunity for side work or your own part-time business to achieve that goal? That's what I mean by a breakthrough goal. Something that changes your life, brings you new opportunities, and gets you in front of the right people. And it up-levels every activity, relationship, and group that you're involved in. What might your single breakthrough goal be? There's an exercise in the workbook that will help you decide. And for the purpose of this webinar, what is one single thing that you can change in your career, business, lifestyle, or relationships that would boost you to the next level? Is it landing a promotion? Is it changing jobs? Is it expanding your business? Is it finding your soulmate? Is it qualifying for an award? Going back to school? Moving across the country, which we did, by the way? Retiring early, or some other goal? Take time later to think about your breakthrough goal. There's a page in the workbook to figure it out and jot it down. Look for exercise number 5.
I want to finish our discussion on goal setting by talking about a technique that will help you achieve major goals in record time, in a way to get your brain focused on assembling the resources, money, people, and circumstances needed to bring about your everyday goals, and especially that breakthrough goal. It's called affirmations. Affirmations are widely detailed statements of you living, working, and enjoying life as if your goals had already been achieved. Affirmations help the brain focus on bringing about your heartfelt desires. One example of an affirmation is, I'm happily depositing my first $100,000 royalty check as a best-selling author. Another affirmation is, I'm joyfully receiving the company's top sales award. How do you do affirmations? And how do they work? Scientists now know the brain is a goal-setting organism, and if you give it a compelling, colorful, crystal clear image of what you want, it will work night and day to create the opportunities, the contacts, the resources, and the circumstances needed to achieve that vision. In fact, the brain has a special function called the reticular activating system that filters through the millions of impressions and images and messages and thoughts that you process each day, but only passes to your conscious mind the specific information that will help you reach your goal. For example, if you ever thought about speaking at your industry convention as a way to boost your career, and then immediately remembered you met the National Educational Director last month at the trade show, that's your reticular activating system bringing the ideas forward and context that can help you achieve your goal. Reciting your affirmations frequently throughout the day actually focuses your brain on the goals you want to achieve. Writing them out on index cards, note cards, or your smartphone's wallpaper, on the bottom of your bathroom mirror, or other places where you see them frequently, is a way to constantly focus on your most important goals. My best advice, write out your specific and measurable goals on 3x5 cards, and then review the cards in the morning when you get up, and again at night before you fall asleep, maybe even during lunch. It's best to read them out loud. You don't always have to know how you're going to achieve the goal. Just know the visual goal. Just keep visualizing yourself in the future as if you've already achieved it. It's also powerful to add color, sounds, emotions, and other sensory aspects to your visualization time. And as you review the cards, try to experience the feelings of confidence as you deliver that keynote address for your industry's annual conference, or the scent of the cinnamon rolls baking in your new bed and breakfast hotel that you've recently opened, or the sound of the waves breaking at your retreat in Hawaii, or the joy you feel as you're living out your dream career or professional accomplishment. Repetition is the key. Exercise 6 in the workbook includes detailed guidelines to help you write powerful, effective affirmations using your goals from your previous exercise of what you want to be, do, and to have.
So now we come to the most important step of the 4-part formula, is to take action on your goals. Sometimes our biggest life goals can seem so overwhelming. And though we may work hard at achieving them, too often we decide to put them off altogether. We wait until we have more time, or more focus, or more energy, more manpower, more money. And we rarely see our goals as a series of small tasks that add up over time. But in reality, breaking down a goal into smaller tasks and accomplishing a few of them once a week, once a month, is precisely how many big goals get achieved. By breaking down your goals into bite-sized pieces or baby steps, you can begin accomplishing these small tasks that you've determined will lead you towards achieving your goal. However, be aware. Preparing to move forward isn't the same as taking action itself. Many people get caught in this preparation, this research, planning, getting it perfect. And these are all areas where people get bogged down and never actually start taking action. They're too busy getting ready. I know when I used to write papers in university, I would spend hours and hours and hours doing all the research, but I never actually got the paper written. And then till the last minute. So this is why it's important. Don't be too busy getting ready. Start taking some action. And one way that I recommend that you actually start to take action on your goals is to do something I call chunking it down.
If you had a target goal of saving, say, up to 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in an emergency fund, sample goal that we mentioned earlier in this webinar, what steps could you take to pull that money together over the next 8 months? Could you open that new bank account where you would save this money before you even start saving? Determine your living expense for the month. Identify what portion of your current savings you might use in this special fund. Make a list of money sources to save, such as overtime pay or a holiday bonus, and make a list of unused items that you could sell on Facebook or eBay. These 5 steps, which are essentially research, making lists, and going to the bank, are all things you could do in just one day, and in fact, probably in an afternoon. But by making lists of what needs to be done, you've effectively chunked down all the tasks into small steps that are doable and achievable. Which leads me to a helpful strategy for taking action, which is a practice called the Rule of 5. The Rule of 5 simply means that every day you do 5 specific things that will move your goal towards completion. Bigger goals might take longer. The Rule of 5 still applies. Do 5 things every day until your goal is achieved. Your goal perhaps is to go on an amazing vacation. First step is to select where you want to go.
Yeah.
And when do you want to go? And then you do research on how much it would cost. Airfare, hotel, car rental, and activities when you get there. But once you have that completed, you need to decide how long it will take you to save that amount of money based on your current situation. It may be that you will have to take some extra work on, or might want to check to see is your passport up to date, or will I require travel immunization, and the list goes on. Once you decide all these things and chunk each larger goal down into smaller steps, you will begin taking action on these steps, 5 steps a day, until you achieve your goal. That's the game plan we're talking about here for achieving the life of your dreams, or for achieving virtually any impressive goal you set for yourself.
Is there something that hinders people from taking any action at all? Of course there is. One thing is a feeling that they can't accomplish even the smallest of baby steps. They don't feel confident. Another is that they feel overwhelmed by the sheer amount of stuff that they already have to do. And third is that they have to ask someone for something in order to move forward. And asking is something that they're simply just too afraid to do. So let's address these obstacles right now. People feel overwhelmed by the amount of tasks they already have to do. Most of us have incompletes and messes in our households, our offices, our relationships, families, finances, and other major areas of our life. We've got overflowing closets and broken doors and years worth of paperwork that's all stacked up and hasn't been filed. A fight with our sibling that's still unresolved, or a nagging health condition that we need to address, and the list goes on and on. We have incomplete tasks and messes that aren't cleaned up. So one way to stop feeling overwhelmed by what you already have to do is to clean up these messes and incompletes first. It's especially important to handle these incompletes because of what psychologists call the attention units that we have. According to psychologists, we can only attend to 7 things at once. So when you have a cluttered desk, when you're constantly seeing all these papers and unanswered letters and 3,000 emails in your inbox, those things steal your focus away from the tasks that you want to do and what you want to accomplish. You look over your mental to-do list and think, oh, I should move that, move that, or I should put that away, or I need to answer that, but somehow it just doesn't get done. And the more incompletes you have in your life, the more your focus and creative energy gets fractured and scattered. The other reason that it's important to clean up your messes and incompletes is that doing so builds self-confidence and self-esteem. When we have a lot of incompletes in our life, we're consciously or unconsciously judging ourselves as incompetent and incapable because we haven't completed them. Every time you look at these messes, they're reflecting back at us the message, you aren't handling me. We're either afraid to handle them or we don't know how to handle them. And this fear and lack of knowledge compromises our feelings of competence. By handling the incompletes, we get more time in our lives to focus on those steps that will bring about the really important goals and dreams that we have. So take time to put all your incompletes and messes down on one list, either on your paper or in your computer. Walk around the house and take note of the things room by room. Go through your stack of bills and find out anything that you haven't handled yet. Share with your spouse any family relationships that are in bad shape. And once you have this list completed, then you can start to prioritize them and tackle one at a time, one a month or one per quarter, or maybe some of them are small and they would just take 5 minutes to do. So what's a minimum? So you can even apply the minimum, target, and optimum model to these messes. What is a minimum goal or the smallest incomplete that you could commit to handling by this weekend? What's a large mess or incomplete that you could make a target goal to handle over this next month? And what's an outrageous goal that you could handle, such as an incomplete home renovation over the next 90 days?
Yeah.
Handling incompletes and messes boosts your confidence and creates available attention span in your life to tackle the 5 things a day that you want to do to reach your big goals. Another roadblock that keeps people from taking action on their goals is that they lack the confidence to ask for what they need from people who can help them reach their goals.
Asking for the help you need is still a challenge that holds many people back. Why are people so afraid to ask? We're afraid of several things: looking needy, looking foolish, looking ignorant. Mostly we're afraid of experienced rejection. We're afraid of hearing that word, no. The sad thing is that when we don't ask, we actually reject ourselves in advance. We're saying no to ourselves before anyone else has a chance to. But here's an illustration to think about. If you apply to Harvard and you don't get in, you weren't in Harvard before you applied, were you?
No.
And you're not in Harvard after you applied.
No.
Your life didn't get any worse. Think about it. You spent your entire whole life not going to Harvard, and you know how to handle that feeling. So someone telling you no doesn't make your situation any worse. It just keeps it the same.
True.
Well, there's a specific science to asking for and getting what you want or need in pursuit of your goals. Here are some quick tips to get you more comfortable with asking. Ask as if you expect to get it. Ask with a positive expectation and ask for that from that place that you've already received it. It's a done deal. Ask as if you expect to get a yes. Assume you can. Don't start with the assumptions that you can't get it. If you are going to assume that you can get that upgrade. Assume that you can get that table by the window. Assume that you can return it without the sales slip. And assume that you can get that raise or that promotion. Don't ever assume against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Ask someone who can give it to you. Qualify the person. Determine for yourself, who would I have to speak to get this accomplished? Who is authorized to make this decision about that? Who do I have to speak to get whatever it is I'm asking for? Be clear, be specific. Too many people are walking around wanting more money, more love, more help around the house, more recognition at work, more of everything, but they're not being specific. Do you want enough money to retire? Do you want to go on a date night twice a month? Do you want the kids' bedroom picked up every Friday night and the laundry done by Saturday morning? If you're not sure about the specifics, do the research of what it takes and make specific requests. Ask repeatedly. Never give up. Whenever we ask others to participate in the fulfillment of our goals, some people are going to say no.
Mhm.
They may have other priorities, other commitments, and reasons for not participating at this time. It's no reflection on you. Just get used to the idea that there's going to be a lot of rejection along the way to the brass ring. The key is not to give up. And when someone says no, you say next. Lastly, ask someone else. Remember, there are over 6 billion people on this planet. Someone else has enough authorization, is skilled enough, knowledgeable enough, emotionally invested enough, or otherwise capable of saying yes to you. Don't get stuck in your fear. Move on to the next person, or the next, or the next, until you connect with the person who can help you. It's a numbers game. Someone out there is waiting to say yes to you.
Mhm. And as we come to the end of today's webinar, I'd like to close with a couple of things. Number one, we'd really like you to choose one thing right now that you're willing to commit to create the future that you deserve starting tonight. Whether it's you complete the Decide What You Want exercise in the workbook, or you write your first 3x5 affirmation card, or you handle a difficult and troubling situation. Whatever it is, make a mental commitment now and share it with us by posting it to the chat board of this webinar. Remember, when we share our goals, they're more likely to be achieved. And lastly, we would like to invite you to come to participate in our course, Your Rewirement for Success. This is a 6-week course that we've put together based on the principles that are taught by Jack Canfield. And a lot of the things that we have talked about in this course will be included in that, and we will go deeper into some of that. Now, this is a course that we will be offering later this month, and we're going to do 6 hours of 6 separate Zoom calls, and as a group. It'll be a group thing, and we'll have a private Facebook group so we can collaborate with you, and you can collaborate with others in the group. And these exercise, and we'll have additional exercises to guide you in your rewirement for success. And for us, one of the reasons that we wanted to call it Rewirement for Success, because I think that's important for people to know, is that, in our life, we get into habits of doing things, and we kind of repeat the same things all over again, and we lay down these neural pathways. And what we want to do what we want to help you do is to rewire those pathways so that you can move forward in your life and achieve some success. And so for us, that's where that rewirement comes from, is how can we help you rewire those neural pathways, right? Is there something else you want to add?
Well, I know it certainly has made a difference in my life. For one thing, anybody that knows me, that I've actually accepted my feelings on retirement. And actually last week, I have actually officially retired, something that for 3 years that I have fought until I could get it straight in my head that this is a good thing. So rewirement is important to getting out of those habits and start taking those new steps that you need to take.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the course is $197 for the 6 weeks of instruction. However, we would like you to suggest that you bring a friend, and if you will bring a friend to sign up with you, you can bring your friend for free. So that will, be a nice gift that you can give someone, maybe to your teenage son, or maybe your girlfriend, or
your wife.
Your wife. I do suggest that you do offer to your wife first. So $197, but bring a friend for free.
And one of the reasons that for us that we wanted to provide this particular offer about bringing a friend for free is because when you have somebody that you can talk to on a regular basis about what's happening with you, and that they know and understand what your goals are, and that they're having the same teaching and learning that you're having, will make it so much richer. So, sign up and bring a friend, and you can go to Your Rewirement, YOURREWIREMENT.Synduit, SYNDUIT.com. And if you go there, there'll be a list of the things that we have available, and you can just click on there and the registration will come, and we will also be having a workbook up there for you as well. So I think that's it for today. And we'd like to thank you for joining. I'll just see if I can, this is still all such new information for me, so I'm going to stop sharing.